New at 4, we are getting a clearer view of the devastation. You can see some of it right there, left behind by a pair of earthquakes that struck Venezuela. Now, rescue teams are desperately searching through the rubble for survivors, and the earthquakes have resulted in at least 900 people being reported dead so far, and we know thousands more have been injured.
Assistance from the United States is starting to be seen on the ground. Maddie Cannon has the latest.
Marking the second full day of rescue operations. Authorities in Venezuela Friday are rushing against the clock, a 48 to 72 hour time frame known as the golden window, ideal for finding survivors.
It looks like a war zone. We're talking about, again, hundreds of high rises that just fell to the ground with many people in their homes because it was a holiday in Caracas that day.
Assistance from around the world is starting to flood in, including an urban search and rescue team from Fairfax County, Virginia, that specializes in working scenes where buildings have pancaked.
Our training is designed for reinforced concrete collapses, making the rescue very difficult. So these are rescues could take up to 12 to 36 to 48 hours to one individual.
Other U.S. military members are already on the ground, just about 6 months after the U.S. captured Venezuela's president at the time, Nicolas Maduro, as the country already faced major economic challenges.
The problem is that in Venezuela, we don't have a functioning state. We don't have a state that has the capacity, the technical capacity, the financial capacity, or the willingness to really help.
Hundreds are confirmed dead after Wednesday's pair of earthquakes shook Venezuela's northern coast. The 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude quakes came less than 40 seconds apart, leveling buildings and leaving many still missing. Papa! In Washington, I'm Maddie Gannon.